I am recording.
You don't mind. Okay.
So I'm going to start over and pretend I said nothing. So, hi, my name's Barb Cutler. I'm in the computer science department. I'm an associate professor here. I've been at RPI for about 15 years. I've been involved heavily with the undergrad curriculum committee, so we know a lot about all the rules about what classes you need to take to get your degree, but also the changes we've made recently and the changes we're maybe thinking about in the future to sort of tweak things and improve the student experience. And John Yu is my co-host here today, so she also sits on the undergrad curriculum committee. And specifically, you want to keep going with your introduction a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jin Zhao. I'm currently a senior student services administrator for the Department of Computer Science. I'm also advisor for the School of Science, so I advise all the majors in the School of Science. If you're interested in doing a dual major together with CS, which a lot of students in CS are currently doing, so you can talk to me and I can explain to you the requirements of other majors in the School of Science. So I think Barb in her presentation later are going to cover the curriculum for computer science as well as how you're going to do in different divisions and different schools as well. Beyond that, I also do student support services, I coordinate some of the events like this. My colleague Megan Potter, we both advise student clubs, like CS clubs. We have 6-7 clubs right now. If you attended a virtual club there on Sunday night, it was really fun. Yeah, so we do a lot of student support and services and coordinating some kind of recruitment events like this. I hope we're gonna see you guys in the fall on campus.
Yep. Awesome. Thanks. So I don't know if you can see the URL on my screen, but I'm mostly going to click through some of the links. This is material specifically trying to collect some of the stuff that's interesting to Accepted Students Day. And again, normally we do an Accepted Students event on campus. And so I've done that a number of times. So I'm a little disappointed we don't get to see each other in person, but we can go over some of the same materials. And so I'll just click through, and why don't you just take and use the chat or the Q&A box if you have a question as we go. So if I'm covering something and you want to ask more questions about it or ask something related, just go ahead and type them in the chat, and either I'll answer it right away or we'll circle back to it at the end if it's a little bit longer question. I'm just going to jump into, I guess, the About the Department link. So there's some information here. Welcoming you to RPI. There's the, maybe a lot of you are focused on the curriculum that you'll be needing to finish in order to get the computer science degree. So we can click on that link. Some FAQs, pretty helpful information. If you want to meet the other faculty in the department, we all have web pages and can look at us by research interest on this link. And then some stats about the reported salaries for folks graduating recently with the computer science major or with dual majors, and the companies they head off to. Some other links in there. So I guess I'm just going to jump in because it's the meat and potatoes. Taking a look at the template for the degree requirements to complete the computer science degree. And so as you look at, of course, other schools presumably, but at RPI we type up these little templates. This is a way to complete the degree requirements for computer science. Excuse me, but depending on your transfer credit or your AP credit, probably no one follows exactly this template. So here, jumping right in at the beginning, you'll see basically freshman year, we encourage students to take one class in our department. And then by the time you get to sophomore year, it's usually 2 classes each term in computer science, generally named requirements. And then when you get to your 3rd and 4th year, there are a couple more named requirements, but then we really do open up for options. We call these CS options or capstone requirements as you get a little further in the program. Excuse me. So many of you will be starting with Computer Science 1. About half of our incoming freshmen want to either review their material or maybe don't have a prior experience with computer science programming. About half of our students, again, start with Computer Science 1. And about half of our students have AP Computer Science, or they've self-taught themselves this material and they can jump straight into data structures. And so many of our classes, we offer both semesters. So if you have AP credit, you probably just are peeking ahead and taking some of these classes in the spring, or that are in the spring semester. You'll take that in the fall of your freshman year. So like I said, I teach data structures in the fall. So I see a lot of the freshmen, the incoming freshman class in there. Other classes that you're taking in your first semester, probably a calculus, depending on whether you have AP credit, either Calculus 1 or Calculus 2. And I guess a small number of students do jump ahead and take the multivariable calculus, which is kind of like Calc 3. Also listed in freshman year are classes like physics and biology, which you should take at some point. If you want to rearrange your schedule, or if you're thinking about a dual, might push back on taking physics or biology till a little bit later in the degree program. And that's fine, because there's no prerequisite structure in computer science that requires that you take these things right away. And then I usually recommend to all students, in addition to taking 3 sort of technical math, sciencey classes, to take a humanities or social science class pretty much every semester. So that's why we've got sort of 1 slotted in each semester. And there's distribution requirements you need for the Haas electives, but and again, Haas stands for Humanities and Social Sciences. And then moving forward, again, generally 2 classes in computer science of your sophomore year, etc. So are there any questions specifically on the degree template, on which class you should start in? I know a question I get pretty frequently for freshmen who are entering is, which class should I start with, computer or data structures? And again, it's roughly, if you have the AP credit, you'll probably start in data structures, or if you have significant self-taught material or some other experience, you can jump straight into data structures, even if you don't technically have the transfer credit. But we do expect you to have the knowledge that's taught in Computer Science 1, either our version or similar. All right, so we've got a question here. Since we can't visit our PI campus specifically, can you describe the facilities that students use on a daily or weekly basis, including classrooms, labs, lounges, etc.? So I'll tell you a little bit about the introductory sequence classes. So Computer Science 1 and data structures have a large number of students both semesters. In the fall, data structures has had about 300, 350 students every fall. So we meet twice a week for a large format lecture, and that's in one of the large lecture halls on campus. And so those large lecture halls are general across the institute, but a lot of computer science classes are in some of those biggest rooms. But that's not the only classroom for data structures. We also do break that large lecture into smaller, we call them lab sections. Other schools might call them recitation sections. And so once a week, you're meeting with about 30 to 35 students and a graduate TA, and generally maybe 3 to 4 undergraduates will also be in the room. So this is where you get your one-on-one help with the recent lecture material and with homework. And so we call these lab sections. Those are held, so in particular for data structures in the fall, we usually have 10 lab sections. So that's, again, breaking up our 350 person lecture into these smaller 30 to 35 person lab sections. And those are kind of across campus, but usually I try to get them often in the building that has the faculty just downstairs. We've got a couple lab rooms. We do have a recently renovated computer science lounge space. It's actually right outside of John Yu's office. John Yu and Megan have the sort of advising hub for computer science, and just outside their office is the computer science undergraduate lounge sort of workspace. I don't know, how many people does that seat, John Yu? I think about 40-ish people. And that's
around that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a really nice room. We have some of the upper level classes have office hours in that room. The Women in Computer Science group meets there, and it's a great new space. I'm glad we got that renovated. Yeah, some of the lecture halls are a little old, but some of the lab, or some of these this office space is in particular is new. Also, a lot of students, I think, do their study groups sort of work in either the union, which is upstairs there of the one of the dining facilities called the Union has some just tables and chairs and stuff upstairs. I think a lot of computer science students camp out there, And I know the library has a lot of small study rooms and study carrels and things like that. It's frequently where people meet for small groups if you work on group projects or just want to study together. So that's what I'm aware of. But again, those questions probably best asked to students as well. What do I want to jump over to next? I think I will let you click around on the About the Department page. And we'll jump over to the CS clubs because I can talk about some of these in a little more detail. So I'm not going to click on these links, but just show you where they are. And you can click on the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. If you haven't heard of this already, we're really proud of this group. It's probably like close to now. CS alumni donated a couple $1 million to RPI and said, I want this to be spent on undergrads who are doing work towards open source projects. So it's a really big push, and it's pretty novel at the time, really focusing on open source work and how you can improve the RPI community and also improve the world through open source. So if you haven't heard of the big push for open source software, this is a wonderful thing. One of the projects that started up out of ARCOS, or the Rensselaer Center for Open Source, is something we call Submittee, which is how all undergraduates in computer science submit their homework, their weekly homework assignments, how they get their grades back. It's the place we go have discussions about class, and you find all your class material on the Submittee page. And it's something that started back in 2014, actually, when I was teaching data structures that spring. A number of students approached me. They were also, in addition to taking data structures, they were participating in the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. There was a class, and they're all encouraged to find projects you can work on that will improve either the RPI community or the world, and do this through open source. And so they took a look around and they said, hey, the system you're currently using, again, this is back in 2014, to submit homework, doesn't look very pretty. It's this old web page, and we think we can make it better, and we think we can write it in open source. Previously, it was a closed source, homegrown software system, so that if we make it open source, then perhaps other universities can do this. And so in spring 2014, they started working on this, and by the following fall, what they had done was much better than what we had in-house. And so we switched to it, and we've been using it ever since. To collect homework, and we've written research publications about it, and students are continuing to work on it through participation in our it's just really great and cool, and I continue to supervise that group and work on that. So I want to talk about that. So let me just jump over. I see some questions coming in on the Q&A. So again, you can ask your questions either in the chat or the Q&A. John, you and I are looking at both of them. So how large are the classes? Do they get smaller over time? So like I said, a lot of the required courses in the department, you're going to be seeing all of the other majors. And so recently our class sizes have been per year, the entry year is 300 to 400 students in each of the freshman, sophomore, junior cohorts. And we offer many of the classes both semesters. So you maybe won't see all of those people in your class. They might be taking it the other semester. But we do have a number of non-majors in each of those classes. So Computer Science 1 and Data Structures taken by a lot of non-majors. But by the time you get up to the sophomore, junior level requirements, those are mostly students in computer science. So I think the class sizes are, again, they get somewhat smaller. Those are the required classes. One of the really cool things is after you get through the 8 required classes, the named classes, then there are the electives you take in computer science. And each incoming student here will have to take 4, we call them CS options. Actually, let me jump back again to the template so you can see what's going on. Where did the template go? Curriculum template. So you can see the classes that have this C-Sci prefix. And then the named class, there are 8 of them. So 2 freshman year, 4 sophomore year, and then the last 2 programming languages and operating systems you take sometime in your junior, senior year. But then there are 4 classes that are labeled CS options / capstone. And those are the classes you get to, a little free picking here on what you want to focus on. And some of those classes are significantly smaller. So I teach in the spring semester, alternating springs. This semester, I just finished teaching interactive visualization, and next spring I'll be teaching advanced computer graphics. And those classes are about 35 to 40 people each year. So there are other smaller classes like mine, data and society, computer vision, I'm blanking on some of the other ones right now. Some of the electives are actually pretty popular. So especially recently, some of the more popular classes like AI or machine learning or database systems are somewhat larger. So it kind of depends what you choose for your electives, whether they're going to be the jumbo classes or the small classes or something in between. That's a little bit about the class sizes. And again, for many of the classes, in addition to the large lecture format, we break down into smaller lab groups or recitations. So you can get a little bit more one-on-one attention in those. Can we access recordings of financial aid? I don't know about the answer to that question. That's sort of outside of me.
I can
yeah.
jump in for that. So admissions are working to upload all the webinars to the admissions channel on YouTube. So I was looking at it. I'm gonna send this link to the chat box so everybody can see it. I think they host like a couple of like financial aid related webinars. I will post the link in the chat box so you can access it.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, so the next question is, how accessible are the professors? A couple things about this. So first off, when you are joining the computer science department, you will be assigned a faculty advisor. Freshman year, that happens is just about what classes to take. So actually, some of the best information there is, best delivered in large format. By the time you get to more sophomore, junior, where you're picking, thinking about what your specialty classes are, that's really where your one-on-one advising with your faculty advisor can be helpful. So definitely approaching your advisor for that kind of information. You will be assigned a professor who will help you answer those questions. But if they're more like how to register, how to make sure you get all the degree requirements done, in addition to your faculty advisor, John Yu, who's on the call with us today, but then also her colleague, Megan Potter, will be helpful for answering those questions. Okay, so that's one piece of faculty advising we do have. And the other piece is when you're taking a class, again, all faculty will be announcing their office hours for the class. Some of them will do it immediately after the lecture. Schedule allows it, and if we physically have the space. So for data structures, that class usually is taught Tuesday, Friday, 2 to 4, and usually nobody's in the room afterwards. So both I and my colleague who teaches it in the spring usually host part of our office hours immediately after lecture. And so that's a good time to catch us, especially if you don't have a class immediately after that. I usually stand around sometimes as long as 45 minutes or a half an hour after lecture, answering questions about the lecture, or if people have questions about the homework, want me to take a look at stuff. So that's one way we're accessible. Usually, in addition to that, immediately after lecture time, we have office hours in our actual office instead of the lecture room. So you can come see us then. And another big thing I recommend if folks specifically are interested in doing research in a particular area. So you might come in and be like, oh, I totally want to do research in computer vision. And so people ask me, how do I get to know the computer vision faculty member? And my advice is, as quickly as take their specialty class in computer vision. You're probably not ready for it freshman year, first semester, but maybe after a couple semesters, you can get into the computer vision CS option class, and that'll be a little bit smaller. You'll get to know the professor. You'll learn the basics of computer vision and how they like, what they think are the important topics. And then at the end of that class, especially if you've gone and approached that person after lecture and or in their office hours, they've gotten to know you, they know you know what computer vision is, and then you can ask the question, hey, there's some cool research I can do with you about computer vision. And that's the best way to get your foot in the door as an undergrad, is to take the specialty class with the professor who does, say, computer vision research. How accessible are we? I hope that mostly answered that question. What is the ratio of professors to students? I don't know the number on that one off the top of my head. I think on one of we have about 25 faculty members, and our number of CS students recently passed 1,000. So you can do the division there. The faculty student ratio is a little tough, but computer science is a really popular major, and I think you'll find this at most schools. So yes, we do have large classes, but we have lots of graduate students helping us teach smaller sections for lab and recitation. And we also hire a lot of our own CS undergrads to help with that one-on-one sort of debugging help, especially in the intro classes. All right, what kind of specializations are there for capstone? So there was a link I wanted to go to. I don't know if it's on this page. John, you is the capstone.
It's on that page. If you go back to the curriculum, it's on the second page.
On the second, but does it have the list of all the courses?
Oh no, not all courses, but
yeah, that's what
all
I
the
said.
concentrations.
Yeah, I'm going to jump over to the main computer science webpage. And so this is a little more ins and outs for the folks who are in here. One of the links here is the CS capstone concentration area. So if you click on this and then you click on this, we should end up with another PDF here telling us what the concentration areas are. So again, the basic degree requirements are take these 8 specific CS classes and then take 4 in your choice of specialty area. And so the 4 areas are, we made these pretty broad buckets, we call them. So the first concentration area is theory and algorithms. I'll let you scroll through and read some of these. The next one is systems and software, and AI and data. And then the final one, that's my favorite because it's where my classes are, is this sort of grab bag of computer vision, computer graphics, robotics, and games. So this is smaller ones in terms of number of classes, but it's got classes, that are described by the name here. So you'll see in this list, my computer graphics class and also my interactive visualization class are here. So again, these are generally taught alternating spring semesters. So an even semester teaching visualization, and in the odd spring semesters, I teach computer graphics. So you'll notice if you scroll back and look at some of the details, some classes are listed in multiple categories. So for example, parallel computing is in the systems category, and it's also in the vision, graphics, robotics, and games category. So there are classes that are sort of cross-listed in multiple places. So it's pretty easy. Generally, students, no matter what their interests are, will quite easily satisfy. If they take 4 classes they like, they will usually fall into one of these pretty broad categories. So is it hard for CS majors to get into popular classes like AI? We do set the cap on that pretty high. So especially AI, you might not get into it if you're, say, a sophomore trying to take it, but usually by junior year and definitely by senior year, registration priorities, seniors have priority. So you might have to wait a semester sometimes to get into the classes, but we do respond to the demand for classes and generally are trying to figure out how to teach those classes either more frequently or increase the cap on them so we make sure everybody can get in. And let me just back up and say, if you're a CS major and it's a required class, I believe in all cases we make room for you in that class. So you don't have to worry about getting your CS requirements. The only thing you might have to, if you're only a sophomore, you might not get into the elective, but usually electives are taken by juniors and seniors anyways. So some of the more popular electives do fill up, but everyone should be able to get into them by the time they're a junior or senior. What is special about computer science at RPI? What distinguishes it from CS programs at other colleges? So I've already done a little bit of bragging about the Rensselaer Center for Open Source. I think that's really one of our strengths. It's been around for quite a while. Again, started by an alumni giving a donation, and we've really grown that. And if you click through the ARCOS pages, you'll see all of the really cool projects that students have been working on. And you can join ARCOS. I think they only ask that you are, finished with the data structures course. So many students can start that the spring of their sophomore year, or spring of their freshman year, excuse me, or fall of their sophomore year. And you're encouraged when you join ARCOS for the first time to join an existing project. But students are also welcome to propose their own new projects and form little teams. Generally, we like teams about 3 or 4 people is a good size for an ARCOS. Can practice a little bit of leadership, practice a little bit of working as a team, sharing code, learning how Git works, how to do pull requests, peer review of your work. It's pretty neat stuff. So I'd say Arcos is one of the big hits. Another one of our really strong clubs is the Security Club. Actually, let me jump over to the clubs and organizations page. So I'm through Arcos first, just walking down the list real quick. Hack RPI, if you've heard of hackathons, where people might come to a specific location. So students from RPI go to hackathons at other universities. And we also have been hosting our own hackathon at RPI for a number of years now, and it's called Hack RPI. Usually it's in the fall semester, I believe. It's one of these crazy events where we take over a bunch of the lecture halls on a weekend, and students are physically on campus from both RPI but other schools as well, working on projects they're particularly passionate about. So you can take a look at previous Hack RPI events. ACMW, if you've heard of ACM, that's the National Organization Association for Computing Machinery. It's the Computer Science Professional Society, and ACMW is a piece of that. It's focused on women in computer science. So we have our own chapter of ACMW at RPI, and I'm one of the sort of faculty hangers-on for that. We've been meeting. If you're a woman in computer science, you'll be added to the computer science group, or just let me or John, you or Megan know if you don't get added automatically. We have been meeting usually once a week on Tuesday evenings, just sort of hang out to chat about internships or interviews in computer science, some of the challenges specific to women, attending the Grace Hopper conference in the spring, those sorts of things. So ask if you have more questions about that. Next up, RPISec. This is the one I was going to jump to. This is the Security Club at RPI. And this has been around, really self-student driven organization. They participate in a bunch of capture the flags. If you haven't heard about what those are, take a look. They also turn around and have been teaching themselves. They have a lot of good course-like material on security and penetration testing, and preparing themselves and studying to participate in these capture the flag events. And they have a really good track record of excellent performance in these events. So you can go take a look at their website a little bit more. Next up, UPE. This is the Honor Society for Computer Science. The last group listed on this page anyways is the Coding and Community group. And again, pretty nice things to click through. I think I'll pause at that and jump back over to the questions. So what is special about computer science? I would say Arcos and RPISec are some of the ones. You might have similar-ish organizations at other schools, but I think those are some of our premier ones here. What are the robotics facilities, clubs, activities available to computer science students? I don't know if John, you has any more information about this. A year ago, sadly, our faculty member in computer science who specialized in robotics left and took a position as a department head at another university. So immediately in computer science, sadly, we do not have currently a robotics faculty member. I think in engineering, we still have John Wen does robotics work. And this is one of the things they talk about at RPI. We have what low walls, and this is maybe more of a buzzword for faculty who want to collaborate across departments. So there are a number of faculty who have appointments in multiple departments. And so John Wen certainly has advised computer science students, and computer science students take his classes, even though his primary department is in engineering. So I can't speak to that as much from the computer science side, but there are still robotics faculty and students at RPI. So what are the options for one-on-one tutoring for writing intensive courses that a CS student could use? So I almost feel like this is a mix of questions. So one-on-one tutoring is available in many of the classes. It's not so much, well, it's one-on-one assistance in lab and office hours. We've figured out how to teach these giant classes, but still give you one-on-one attention through office hours. But those are more in the technical classes. But for writing intensive courses. So one of the things all students in computer science need to take is the, well, I'm blanking on it, communication intensive course. And so usually that's a junior or senior class. This is for, there's two parts to the writing requirement. One is in Haas, and then one is in your major. And so the classes I teach, graphics and visualization, can count as that second part writing class. So in addition to feedback you'll get from your instructor and TA in that course, there's also the writing center. Is that what it's called? Johnny, do you know what this is? I know it's in the basement of the the Folsom.
Yeah, it's called ALAC, Advising and Learning Assistance Center. They offer free tutoring services. I think they offer like both CS1 data structures, one-on-one tutoring.
Yeah, I think that's not the one I was pointing to. There's the writing center too. It's also right next door in the basement.
Library.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they offer like the writing assistance as well over there. But I'm sure you can schedule appointment online as well at courses. Yeah, but ALAC is usually a place I refer students to. Yep.
Have I mostly answered the question so far? I feel like this is a stressful final exam.
Let me try to find the writing, the one-on-one writing assistance website.
The woman who runs it her name is Barbara Lewis. And I was talking to her about it. So something like the Writing Center, I think is what the name of it is at RPI. And there are a couple services, you can just make an appointment and say, hey, I've been working on, this draft of this essay. Will you take a look at it? And you can go to her, or she's got a number of other people who take appointments over there, and they'll sit down with you and look at your sample of writing and give you writing feedback on the quality of your writing. Not necessarily copy edit services, but, will help you improve your writing. And then she was saying one of the things she likes to do is have professors work with her to, as a requirement for the course, is for all the students in the course to make an appointment to go see them. And so for one of our classes that is taught software design and documentation, I know he does build that in as one of the requirements for your final project. You must make an appointment to go see someone in the writing, get them to take a look at your project report. And that's like one of the sort of activities you got to sort of cross off the list, but it works really well and students get good feedback on that. So that's, again, through courses, sometimes they use the Writing Center. So, and again, all students will take at least 2 of these so-called communication intensive courses. The first one you generally take your freshman or sophomore year, and this is going to be a humanities course, which has a significant amount of they call it communication intensive because it could be writing or it could be writing plus presentations, like oral presentations. So it's your choice which class you want to take to satisfy the first level of communication intensive. And then you'll take one in computer science where, again, it's also your choice. If you choose the graphics visualization area, you could take one of my classes, but there are a number of other classes in the CS department that will satisfy that second requirement. If we thought of any questions as we go, or you guys are busy clicking around on all the links that I skipped. Is there anything I should pick up on, Tanya?
I think you covered most of them. I was trying to find the website for that. The Writing Center we talked about is called Center for Global Communication plus Design. So I just sent everybody a link that should direct you to our website.
Okay.
And you will find more resources on there. They offer both in person and online e-tutoring. So I'm sure you can schedule like a one-on-one appointment with the staff member over there for your writing skills. Barb, would you like to talk about your research interests? Yeah, I'm sure a lot of students are interested in getting involved in research.
Yeah, so my PhD was on computer graphics, specifically on making 3-dimensional models and talking about the the internal structure inside of a three-dimensional model and be able to quickly create one of these three-dimensional models or create a sophisticated three-dimensional model you could use in computer simulation of some sort. For example, my advisor was really excited about weathering and making, say, a statue look natural and look like it had been in an environment for a while where it had been exposed to the elements and doesn't look new and pristine anymore. So three-dimensional modeling, simulation, rendering, computer graphics, that was kind of what my PhD was on. Then I started dabbling a little bit in geometrical modeling things for architecture, not computer architecture, but like actual building architecture. So I did a little bit of work on that. A little vision started to sneak in. I also did some research down in MPAC, which if you've heard of, seen on one of the RPI sites, not EMAC or EMAX, but MPAC, all these very similar acronyms. MPAC is an amazing facility. It's a performing arts center, but it also has a lot of these large, they call them black box studios that you can sort of do anything in. And we did a virtual reality project down there. It actually wasn't virtual reality. They call it augmented reality or spatially augmented reality. So we weren't wearing goggles and head-mounted displays. Instead, we were using the environment around us and using projectors to modify the environment around us. So we did some work in that. So I've worked on projectors and big performance kind of environment things. Most recently, my research has been focused on CS education. And like I mentioned earlier, called Submiti, which is the system to collect homework assignments. That's what it started out as, a system to collect CS1 and data structures homework assignments and test those assignments. There's some challenges in testing code that students will upload. One of the problems could be if the student submits a buggy program and it doesn't finish, it runs infinitely. So you want to make sure your system to collect these assignments and grade them doesn't get stuck in an infinite loop trying to grade a student assignment. So you want to make sure that you have some time cutoffs, and that also if the student's code is buggy and maybe tries to use too much memory or open up too many files or all sorts of things, you want to have a secure, robust environment for testing arbitrary code students have uploaded, and make sure you handle the robustness issues with bugs, but also security as well, to make sure that students' code doesn't sort of break out of the box and do things it's not supposed to. So we have a platform for collecting programming assignments, testing them, and then automatically giving feedback to the students about the accuracy of those programs, and doing some work on grading. But it's also important that homework is graded by TAs or the instructor to look at things that you can't automatically test. And so we built an environment that, again, started with focusing on how to test homework and has grown into a system that we think is going to be used by classes outside of computer science as well, just for collecting arbitrary materials, be they PDFs you're submitting or images or even videos. How do you start to provide TAs a nice interface to be able to grade that work, and also for students to ask questions, get answers. We call that the discussion forum. Also, and research is really where I've headed. But most recently, we did have a publication on how to automatically grade computer graphics homework assignments. So that's another wrench to be thrown in. Collecting homework that's supposed to produce visual images, taking screenshots and videos, and turning around and letting TAs grade those, or do what we can, grade it automatically as well. So that's been my research. All right, I've babbled for a while. Is there support for ensuring a good Arch co-op experience? So I presume you're talking about probably support in terms of finding a good Arch, or do you mean financially? I'm going to answer it like it's assistance in finding and applying. So the good news is in computer science, finding an internship is actually much easier than some other majors, and students have been doing well in their classes and are motivated and get themselves out there and are applying to opportunities, usually don't have too much trouble to find something. computer science, getting an internship even after your freshman year is possible, and certainly after sophomore year or during those during the semesters as a co-op is definitely quite doable. Do we, prepare lists within the department? I don't think so. Actually, let me just back up again and say there's some resources that are, whole university resources. There's the Career Center that will take a look at your resume and help you tweak your resume to be prepared. That also, I think, might help with like writing a cover letter or the various other materials you need to submit. So definitely take advantage of that. But we also have the career fair, and I think there's a career fair both in the fall and the spring semester. And I tell all of my advisees, starting year, go to the career fair, even if you're not looking for an internship right away, or even if you think your resume looks a little weak. Go to the career fair every semester. Get practice talking to those to the recruiters. And the good news is the career fair is always stuffed with computer science companies. I've heard students in other majors complaining, grumbling, oh, I went to the career fair and they were only hiring computer scientists. So we are very lucky. If you go, we're the hot commodity for many of these companies. So yes, there are resources. Start taking advantage of them right from the beginning. So yes, there's support for that. So now we're asking about Arch. Why has Arch been controversial? So it is a little bit of, turning the classic fall, spring, summers, or vacation on its head a little bit. And that has been students, especially if, you're coming to RPI, but your friends from high school are going to other schools that have the classic summers or vacation every summer. So it can be a little frustrating for some students who were expecting to be able to, hang out at home with their friends every summer. And also it's a little tough for faculty. So you might hear some grumbling too. Many faculty have children who will be off from school. And so it can be tough. We don't necessarily have the same faculty teaching available to teach in the summer. So the course availability is a little different. And this is something we are transitioning to. And our offerings of courses every summer Arch is getting better and better each year. So we try very hard to get classes that are going to be appropriate for students. Again, if you haven't heard of Arch, it is basically your 5th semester at RPI. So you take your freshman fall, spring, your sophomore fall, spring, and then your 5th semester during the summer between what would have been your sophomore and your junior year. And we make sure we have classes that are appropriate to take for that 5th semester. It's a little tricky because our curriculum, like I said, not everybody follows the template exactly. So some students are a semester ahead or a semester behind. So we try to make sure there are classes during the Arch that will help you progress through your degree. But one of the downsides is a lot of the fun classes, the classes you take for your electives, your computer science options, we have the most variety of those during your spring and fall semesters. So during that summer term, you might be taking more sort of required classes. There will be some options, but they might not be, exactly what you wanted to take. So again, that can be a little bit of why the grumbling about why Arch has been controversial. But it's just another one of the semesters you have to take. Typically students are taking 8 semesters. One of them will be during the summer. And then the cool thing is then, since you've taken that 5th semester over the summer, one of your junior semesters, either the fall or the spring, you'll go do a co-op or an internship. And like I said, in computer science, if you apply early enough and you've been learning and working on your resume and making sure your GPA is strong, you shouldn't have a problem finding something to do during that semester. So if you've been reading some of the online forums, which often skew more negative than if you talk to people in real life, but they do have valid viewpoints online, but you'll see some grumbling about Arch for some of those reasons. And it's important when you're looking at that feedback, are these computer science students? Or they might have different challenges in other departments. Okay, so I hope I answered the Arch question. If you have more specific things you want to ask about Arch, please jump in on the channel. What are the pluses and minuses about RPI's location? So this is tough because I think it's great, but I know some people dislike some of the things. So if you haven't seen snow before, and maybe, or if you know that you're going to hate snow and cold, RPI is in a northern climate. We do get a fair amount of snow. I grew up in a cold climate with snow, so it's just normal to me. So that is one thing I can say about the climate. One of the big positives is it's significantly cheaper than schools that are in big cities. So I went to a school in a big city, and everything was more expensive. You couldn't have a car, you couldn't have, a single, you couldn't have your own apartment, things like that. So I know freshmen and sophomores are required to live on campus, but it is totally reasonable and in some ways cheaper for by the time you're a junior or senior to move off campus. Many upperclassmen have cars. All these things are possible because it is not the most expensive place in the U.S. to live. Other pluses and minuses. I like how it's basically 3 hours away from everything. So it's a 3-hour drive or train ride, or 3+ hour drive or train ride to Boston or New York City, or just a little bit further if you want to go up to Montreal. So it is pretty easy to get places. And want to go sort of outdoors hiking and stuff, there are some pretty cool mountains, or outdoors isn't very far from campus. We are close to, we're in downtown Troy, but we are also close to rural-ish areas. So if you want to go bike or ski a little further north, or go hiking a little further north, you can get outdoors without too much trouble too. I don't know, John, did you want to jump in with any of these?
Yeah, sure. I moved to this area only a year ago, so a lot of things that Barb talked about, I'm still exploring. So personally, I really enjoyed, like the natural park around here, and usually we just go like, barbecue like by the lake on weekend, or go hiking in one of the national parks around here. It's only like an hour or two away from here. Um, yeah, we do go to New York City a lot before this COVID-19 situation happened. Um, so to get some authentic Chinese food as well, and to get groceries, some Japanese, groceries. So I love, like, it's not so far away from, big cities, but also get like the quiet place, and the living expense is not that high. Um, and yeah, so another thing like I really like about the campus is like, since RPI is built kind of like on top of like hill, so like my office is right above a hill. So when it snows, like students will like slide down the hill, even though it's not supposed, like they are not supposed to do that. But I usually just, when the weather is nice, I usually stretch myself on top of a hill, and then I was able to see the view of the whole city of Troy. So it's really nice. And the impact is actually built on a hill, and then it's really nice. And student will just hang out over there reading and eating, like they have their lunch over there by sitting on the hill and looking at the city view. So it's really pretty. Yeah, that's what I enjoyed about the campus and Troy.
I guess one more thing I'll plug is there's a farmer's market in downtown Troy every week. Well, the last couple of weeks they've had to close, of course, with COVID. But when it's up and running, it's in downtown Troy during the summer months, plus a little bit in the early fall and late spring. It's outdoor market, and local farms bring vegetables. They have dairy. They have crafts. They have a cheesemaker. Like meat. It's kind of amazing, all of the local vendors that come to downtown Troy. So that's another big plug. What do I like about Troy? So farmers market, that it's close to these things, but also, I can either go to the little town, or I can turn around and run in the opposite direction when I go out for a run in the evening. Just a mile away from my house, there's a working farm. So it's rural plus, urban. So it's not like crazy dense. There's a little bit of everything. So yeah.
The restaurants in Troy are really good too. They,
Yeah.
I think they started like a lot of new restaurants in Troy, and I'm still like spending a lot of time like trying to explore all of them. I've been taken to a couple of places by my colleagues, and they're really good.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the things they are really plugging about Arch in the midst of the students complaining. But one of the things that is really true is Troy gets better in the summer. Um, I know we had a tradition for a number of summers in a row. The faculty would try to go downtown Troy once a week. Usually we could only get ourselves organized during the summer months to do this, but we'd kind of go every Wednesday and go check out a new lunch place, new to us, new in downtown Troy. Um, and it's nice how we could just go for a walk, and a lot of fun places to go. So yeah, it's a little colder and more miserable to walk in the winter, but in the summer it's great. So we're closing in on the end of our initial end time. We may only have one participant left in the chat. So I hope this session has been helpful. And do you have any other follow-up questions?
I'm gonna post my email over here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. Something I want let people know is that we also offer the opportunities for accepted students to chat with our current CS students. So Barb, do you mind to go back to the main page of that
Oh yeah,
accepted students
schedule
page?
events.
Yep. Meet a student over there. Just scroll up
Yeah.
a little bit. Yeah. So there's a
Asking,
queuing app. It was actually developed by one of our current students, Frank. So you can use this website. Initially, this was like for like real time one-on-one on Accepted Students Day on April 4th, but now we're using it just for meeting requests purpose. So if you have any questions between now and before school start, you would like to chat with one of our students, just put down your email over there, and you will receive a confirmation um, link, and then you will be able to access to the website and then request a meeting. And then one of the staff members, either Megan or myself, going to reach out to you and pair you up with one of our current students, and they will reach out to you.
yeah, the student time actually is one of the best parts of our visit day. So if you were to have come to, back when we had this as an in-person event, meeting with the student is often what students report as being their favorite part of coming to visit campus, because you get to sit down with a current student and sort of get all of your questions answered. So I definitely recommend signing up for this, and maybe even ask to meet with one of these people, because they can probably answer some of your questions, like what are the best, most popular freshman dorm. If you jump on Reddit for RPI, you can see that question is actually answered so much. I think it's one of the sidebar links. And it actually might depend on what is best or popular to you, because I know, at least when I was an undergrad, different school, the dorms had sort of different personalities, and depending on whether you want a quiet dorm, or whether you want a single or a double, or whether what's most important to you. Do you want to be close to the food, or do you want to be close to classes, or do you want to be a little further away from classes, or do you want to be close to athletic facilities? There are definitely different preferences on that list. So um, I'd recommend asking a student and or looking up a little bit more of the stuff. I don't know the answers to those questions, I'm sorry. But how far are the freshman dorms from the CS classrooms? So one of the big complexes of dorms is called Quad, and that is actually on the main block with all the classes. So you don't actually have to cross any roads to get to the main classrooms. And the main CS classrooms, especially for freshman, sophomore, are these big lecture rooms, and those are sort of central on this main block that is sort of the main part of campus. So Quad is close, and the other big complexes are across one road, but there's actually a little walking bridge to get to them. And that's where the main dining area is, sort of across the road, but up, I think they call it the hill or something. Commons. Commons is the main dining hall, and it's sort of across the road from the main bulk part of campus. It's all very traveled. So it's it's quite located. And if you go a little further, some of the dorms that are a little bit further from campus are actually really near the athletic facilities. So I believe some of the athletes prefer to be in those dorms that are a little further from main campus, but closer to athletic facilities. So again, preferences there. How good is the food at RPI? Has it improved over time? I know they just did a major renovation of the Commons area. I had been there maybe 5-6 years ago, and then I just went back a year ago, and I was stunned. I couldn't believe it was the same building. It looked all schwanky in the new theme with like dark floors and like kiosks and everything. So it looks, again, the main Commons area is recently renovated. How good is the food? Again, this might depend on personal preference. I think there's a lot of variety. So again, if you're a health nut or if you're vegetarian or you're this or that, they try to, satisfy all cravings. So, I mean, it's college food. It is what it is. Has it improved over time? I think so, but I think our demands as a society for the quality of food and college student taste buds have improved over time too. Are there any initiatives to improve the CS department? Of course, we always want to improve and keep improving. Improve the courses, improve the facilities. Yes, yes, yes. We would love to do all of the above. The biggest challenge, of course, is facilities, because that's a little bit outside of our control as faculty members. So, like I said, we renovated the lounge space that's outside of John Yu's office pretty recently. That used to be, back not that long ago, was a big machine room. And so getting that gutted and renovated was a pretty substantial renovation, but I think it turned out really well. So facilities, like I said, a lot of the facilities are campus, large classrooms. I know one of the lecture halls in Sage got a renovation recently. I'm too big of a class in the fall to use that room, but I think some junior, senior classes, some of the AI databases are in that room. I think machine learning is also in that room that's been recently renovated. But yeah, it's a rolling process. Campus is doing what it can.
As far as improvement, so actually I'm recruiting for the UCC for the upcoming school year, 2020 to 2021. So once you guys arrive on campus, we'll reach out to you and to invite you to become the UCC undergraduate curriculum committee student representative. So if you have any ideas or any initiative you'd like to see or implement within the CS department, I highly encourage you to apply. Yeah. Trying to market that.
Yeah, we have a representative from each year, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and I think it's really important to get that student input. So I'm always asking questions, sort of after class is over, I'm asking students, hey, what can I do to do better? Or can you tell me about, are there problems going on in your classes? Or, something else that I, as a computer science faculty member, sort of behind the scenes can help out with. So. Does the administration support CS well? Do you feel well supported and funded? So I think in some of those docs, you'll see we recently became the largest major on campus. For a number of years, we were just behind the mechanical engineering department that's actually combined with aerospace, but I believe now we are the biggest major in terms of undergraduates. So yes, the administration is very well aware that computer science is important. And we have good success recruiting undergraduates to join RPI, but also good success in graduate students. And research is doing well. So yes, we are, I think, supported pretty well by the administration. Do we feel well supported and funded? All of us will grumble a little bit about we wish we had more, but we are definitely on the radar of the administration, and they are doing what they can. Do we need more faculty and other resources? This is tough. We were in the middle of a process to hire new faculty to start, well, presumably in the fall. Sometimes faculty don't come immediately, they wait a semester or so, but we were excited. We had a number of openings. And as you'll find at a lot of schools right now, they've put down a hiring freeze with the uncertainties with COVID. So my department head just told us, we are first in line when they open things back up again. The administration knows it's important, and we do need more faculty. So, but we're doing what we can. Other resources. think we're doing pretty well. And again, our department head, Chuck Stewart, is amazing. He sometimes hosts these things. He's amazing, and he's a really good advocate for us to get what we need. So a lot of good questions. Thanks. I see they're all coming from the same person. Awesome. Yeah. Well, best wishes with your decision. I guess it's coming up in a couple days. I don't know if all schools have the same deadline. It's a very unusual time, I know, to be making choices, and it's also an interesting time. I assume you're just finishing up your senior year of high school. I've seen some Facebook posts from friends who have kids who are seniors in high school, and it's got to be tough saying goodbye and figuring out where you're going to head to next without being able to go and see people in person, both the people you see and next up. So we're hoping it all sorts out soon. I know I was having a tough time, Megan, or excuse me, Johnny, when I was saying goodbye to my students yesterday. I had my last class, and I've known many of them. They're seniors. I've known many of them since freshman year. And just the thought that they're not ever going to come back to RPI, it's tough. So,
It has been sad, like, to see some seniors graduating and but not being able to congratulate them like in person. Yeah.
So, our graduation ceremony at RPI has been canceled or postponed, but hopefully postponed. That I can come back at some point. So I invited them all. Next time you're at RPI, for whatever reason, come look me up and find me. Come see my office. I hope they do. All right. Yeah, nice to meet you. All right. So thanks for coming. And please follow up if you have other questions. So I think we're done, right, John? You? Yeah, take care of yourself.
We're done. Thank
Yep.
you.
Okay, thanks.